I'm going to walk you through a 3-part exercise that you can use to identify where your confidence comes from and put your confidence more in your control. Now, we know that confidence is crucial to you performing at your peak, right? In order to perform your best, you have to have a level of trust and belief in yourself. But what happens when this trust and belief is in the hands of other people? It's in the hands of the environment, the team that you're playing, calls from the officials. When your confidence is outside of your control, this is where we see your confidence become fragile. Something that I talk to a lot of athletes about is this idea of your confidence going up and down. So your confidence looks a little bit like a roller coaster. Now, why would that happen? Well, that's going to happen because your confidence is not fully within your control, which means if coach yells at you, your confidence goes down. If you make a bad play, your confidence goes down. If the other team starts trash talking, your confidence goes down. Now, the truth is your confidence will go up and down a little bit, right? It will always fluctuate. It's very unlikely that you'll ever have perfectly steady confidence because when you make a mistake, naturally your confidence will take a dip. But what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the roller coaster are these extreme highs and extreme lows, these extreme highs and extreme lows that happen because your confidence is in the hands of other people and the environment. When your confidence is more in your control, this is where we see steadier confidence. Yes, it does fluctuate a little bit, but it's more smaller dips and then it rises back up and then smaller dips and then it rises back up. We don't see those huge peaks and valleys when it comes to your confidence. Now, when your confidence is in your control, this is where you will also experience consistent performances. I want you to think about your best games that you've played. Would you use words like doubt, fear, anxiety, timidness? Would you use those words to describe your performance? Probably not, right? Because if you were using those words, you probably wouldn't be playing your best game. Because when you play with fear, when you play with anxiety, when you play with doubt, you underperform. You hold yourself back. But would you use words like freely, excited, trusting? Would you use those words to describe your best performances? Yes, I'm going to guess you absolutely would use those words because those are the most common words used to describe peak performances. And in order to use those words, in order to play freely, in order to play with trust, you have to play with confidence. So if you have your confidence more in your control, what's going to happen is you'll play more games in a confident state. The more games you play in a confident state, the more consistent your performances will become because we know that when you play in a confident state, you play your best. This doesn't mean that every single game will be played with incredible confidence. It doesn't mean that every single game will be your absolute best game, but it does mean your performances will be more consistent. So what this exercise does is it walks you through a process where you will first identify where your confidence currently comes from, and we'll funnel it down to give you control over your confidence and figure out what actions you need to take in order to get that feeling and that state of confidence. So for step number 1, I know that I was just describing why you want your confidence within your control, but I want you to forget about everything that I just said. Not because it was a lie, not because it's untrue, but because we need you to be completely honest for this first step. What you want to do for step 1 is think, what currently gives me my confidence? Where does my confidence truly come from right now? Now, the way that you can identify this is honestly looking at the opposite. So what hurts my confidence the most? Does coach yelling at you hurt your confidence the most? Then there's a pretty good chance that positive comments from your coach fuel your confidence. If you have a really bad game, does that lower your confidence? If so, then you probably get your confidence from your good performances. So you want to make yourself a list of about 5 to 10 things that give you confidence. These could be these can include positive self-talk. It could be positive comments like I mentioned. It could be playing well. It could be playing a good team or a bad team. So if you notice that your confidence is super high when you play a team that you all have beaten before, but your confidence takes a hit when you play a team that you haven't beaten before or you haven't played very well against before, then we know that the other team impacts your confidence a lot. If you have a good night's rest, if you go through a routine before you play, if you have a certain diet that you follow and that gives you confidence. You just want to think of everything right now that gives you confidence when you play. Now, once you make that list, it's time for us to move on to step number 2. So step number 2 is where I want you to bring back everything that I was saying about confidence needing to be within your control. Because what we're going to do here is we're going to look back over that list that you made in step 1, the list of things that give you confidence right now, and we want to think which of these are 100% within your control. Now, when I say 100% within your control, I mean 100% and absolutely 100%, meaning you can make sure without a shadow of a doubt that you can do these things every single game. For example, if you say that playing well is something that gives you confidence, this is a tricky one, but that's not 100% within your control because playing well relies on other people. But if you said remembering times when I played well, that is 100% within your control because we can use that going into a game to remind yourself of times you've played well in the past. Now, when you look over your list, if you did step 1 correctly, the majority of the time, most of the things you wrote down will be out of your control. If most of them are within your control, I have to say I'm incredibly impressed because that means that you already have a significant control over your confidence. So you want to select about 3 to 4 from that first list. And don't worry if you can't find any from that first list that are 100% within your control. What you want to do is you just want to create some. So go through the same thought process of what gives me confidence or what could give me confidence, but this time only choose things that are 100% within your control. Now that we've gone through step 2, so you've narrowed your list down from just the things that give me confidence to the controllable things that give me confidence. Now for step 3, we want to create what's known as your confidence recipe. So a recipe is a list of ingredients that go into giving us an end result. You know, if you're wanting to make chocolate chip cookies, you have a list of ingredients. The ingredients go together to make the chocolate chip cookies, right? For your confidence, the ingredients will be the things that we just outlined in step number 2. The ingredients that give you confidence are these actions or these things. So what we want to do now for step number 3 is we want to truly turn them into actions. So for example, if you say that positive self-talk, so thinking very positively, gives you confidence, and that is absolutely within your control, what you would say then for step number 3 is the action that you can take is to reread a positive self-talk list before every game or even before every practice, because you know that if you go through that and you read that list, it will increase your confidence going into that game. Another example would be if you say that playing really well gives you confidence, and then you say that remembering times you've played well boosts your confidence, then going into the game you might say, I want to visualize games where I've played well, or I even want to visualize myself playing well going into this game. Or you simply say that I just want to remind myself and think about all the good games that I've had in the past. The goal with step number 3 is to come up with actions that you can take going into every single game that make sure you do the things you outlined in step number 2. Because this is where we have to rely on trust, right? And we rely on our thought process. Because if we've done this correctly, or if you've done this correctly and you've truly identified what gives you confidence, and then you narrow it down to the controllable things that give you confidence, then we can trust that if you do those things going into every game, your confidence will naturally increase. You won't be perfect. There will be games where the other team affects your confidence. There will be games where the practices you've had throughout the week have not been very good, so that will affect your confidence. But if you have this foundation of actions that you can take going into games, then we know that you will be building a foundation of confidence. When you build a foundation of confidence that is within your control, this is where we see your confidence becoming sturdier, and this is where we will see your performances becoming more consistent. So in summary, you want to make sure that your confidence is within your control, because when your confidence is out of your control, it's in the hands of other people and the environment. This is where we see your confidence become very fragile. To get your confidence within your control, there's a 3-part process you can follow. Step number 1 is you want to make sure you identify everything that gives you confidence, even the things out of your control. Step 2, you want to narrow it down to just the main 3 to 4 things that are within your control. And then step 3, you want to make sure that you choose actions for each one of those things from step number 2. And then you put those actions into practice going into games. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I put out new videos each week on sports psychology and mental training. And if you have any questions about this video or would like me to cover any other sports psychology topic, please let me know in the comments below.